In 1990, Michael Blutrich was the owner of one of the most successful nightclubs in New York, Scores. He also had a prosperous law practice and was hobnobbing with politicians, celebrities, and sports personalities. How he then became one of the FBI's most important mob informants, which helped put away and convict dozens of mafia affiliates, began with his own troubles with the law. Hi, this is John Ricciuti at Mainline Public Television at Radnor Studio 21. And we're on location today at the Penthouse Club. Michael, I've read your book. I loved it. It's a mob book, but it also has it's a comedy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that you read it, and I appreciate that you like it. I would kind of disagree with calling it a comedy. It's actually, if I may, a memoir about myself and the utter and complete destruction of my life, and how after such a successful start, everything went down the tubes. But because of my personality and the way I tell stories and look at the world and try to survive problems, everyone tells me I had a friend, a very, very close friend, who told me that he knows it's not funny, but it's funny because of the way I tell it. So I would say that it's a memoir that's funny as opposed to a comedy, because I certainly didn't intend, I wanted people to enjoy the book. I wanted people to really read it and have it be a fun read and a quick read, but never lose track of the sight, or never lose sight of the track that it was the destruction of my life and the worst thing that ever happened to me, even though you will laugh at the events that took place.
How did Scores come to being, and how was it run?
Okay, well, Scores came out of nowhere in my life. I had two clients of my law practice who came to me and basically said...
You had a successful law practice.
Yeah, very much so, very much. I was very, very lucky in meeting some fantastic lawyers, and I had some political connections, and my law practice was fantastic. And in the middle of all of that, or right after the big heyday of the law firm, a couple of people approached me from my clientele and wanted to do a gentleman's club in New York City. Now, it may sound strange to you, but New York City didn't have any gentleman's club at the time. We could have been the first, because we had strip bars in Manhattan, but they were all down in 42nd Street. They were all these blacked out painted holes with older women dancing. Places you wouldn't want to go to. Certainly not millionaires, certainly not celebrities, certainly not athletes. So I said to them, how could you possibly consider doing this? How could you possibly consider opening up a club where it's going to be called a strip bar? And they corrected me and said, no, it's going to be called the Gentleman's Club. I said, but the bottom line is there's topless women walking around, so it's going to be a strip bar. I mean, people aren't stupid, and it's got a bad rep. You're never going to sell it. And in fact, they had been trying for years to get investors to open a strip bar, a gentleman's club in New York, without any success whatsoever. So finally, after a great deal of work on the subject, and we were able to get it funded, figured out a way to get it funded. Some legal, some illegal, but we got it funded, and we were going to open the club. When the first problem we hit was, it was illegal to dance topless in New York City. Now, if someone would have told me that the kind of dancing that's going on in Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana and Atlanta and Miami and Fort Lauderdale and everywhere in the country was illegal in Manhattan, the most cosmopolitan city in the entire country, or world perhaps, how can that be? But it was. And so there were certain rules in place for topless dancing. A girl couldn't be within 6 feet of a customer. And she had to be on a pedestal 18 inches in the air. And she had to cover her nipples with pasties or some other kind of opaque substance. I had no idea what opaque meant, but we looked it up in the dictionary, and it said impervious to light. They used to paint the nipples with latex paint. Go forward. And that's exactly what we did. And we raised all the money we needed for the club, and we opened the club. And opening night was fantastic. I mean, people wanted to see what it was like. And it had that energy of a casino in Monte Carlo and Las Vegas. New York had never seen anything like it. So all of a sudden, everything started to go at once. It was like a train that you couldn't stop. All of a sudden, a higher grade of people were coming in. All of a sudden, people were spending a lot more money. All of a sudden, the club is making a lot of money. And now all of a sudden, Howard Stern's people start coming in. And so now those guys, the crew from the Stern Show, would go back and tell him about this place. You can't believe all the women that are walking around there. They're magnificent. They're from all over the country. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it in New York. And he got interested in it. And so he started talking about it on the radio. So that started bringing all kinds of interest to the club. Oh, we turned away 5 times the number of girls that we accepted. Plus, we stopped taking local girls because in the strip club business, girls travel in like packs. So we would get a call from someone saying, we got 10 girls from Miami, you want us to come up? And we'd book them for a week. And then we'd bring them from Texas, and then from Paris they would come in. Because a good girl at Scores began by, she could make $1,000 a night, which was huge for the industry. Then it became like $2,000 a night. Then as things started getting rolling, a magnificent woman, we had the penthouse pet of the quarter century working for us. And they started making $5,000 a night. And then Howard Stern sent us a message, asked if he could have private parties at the club during the day. And he started inviting celebrities. And then we started sending girls every day to the Stern Show. And he would talk to them about their lesbian inclinations. He would talk to them about everything in the world that you could think of, because he was fascinated with lesbianism. And so, literally, John, I would walk through an airport wearing a Scores hat. People would offer me $200, $300 to buy the hat off my head. Scores began to have this international reputation that no club other than perhaps Studio 54, which was a different crowd and a different genre and a different everything. People would walk up to the door and say, is this the Scores that Howard Stern talks about? And come on in lines around the corner. You couldn't get into the place. I, for one, as the owner, was treated like a king at all the restaurants in the city. So it was working out fantastic for me as well. And I had my law firm, and I had my own restaurant in downtown, and I was a boxing promoter, and I had a radio show on WOR. I was living the life. I mean, this was everything I could have ever dreamed of was happening thanks to this club. And I'm gay, and I'm in the closet, and I don't want to be there. You know, it's like
being gay worked for you in the club.
It worked very well, because some of my partners left because of problems at home. Any night you came into Scores, there'd be a Yankee, there'd be a Met, depending on who was in town, there'd be a Ranger, there'd be an Islander, and then the actors started coming.
The Rangers came here at the Stanley Cup.
Yes, that's right. And they left the Stanley Cup. They drank themselves, and they left the club, and they left the cup in the club, yeah.
2 things. You said the word mafia twice.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, before we opened. Now, I had...
You didn't know about any of this?
No. I had familiarity because I had owned discos. And after I owned discos, I had owned comedy clubs. And so I was familiar with the processes of paying something to be protected from other families, other crowds, other people who might, to get some protection from other people trying to rip you off. And I never had a problem with it. It really wasn't, none of my businesses reached the level where anybody would really care. Like the difference between my paying 2% and 10% was like $40. It wasn't going to be any sort of big deal. But Scores was in a whole other category. It was a whole other species for this sort of thing. So before I even opened the club, we selected a location on the Upper East Side. Now, can you pick a worse location? I mean, think about it. You're in New York City. The Upper East Side is owned by these 90-year-old biddies who are very, very pretentious about what businesses they want in the city. I'm bringing a strip bar, okay? I became Satan incarnate. And they tried to stop me in every single way. They tried to stop me for a liquor license. They went to the landlord and threatened. The only problem was the landlord was a friend of mine. So it all was who I had met through politics. And so all of it was working for me. And I'm in there. And then I get a call from, I would say, a friend, someone I considered a friend. I had been involved in business with this gentleman, and he was always very kind to me. And I knew he was in a mafia affiliate, but we never really spoke about it.
You never consider yourself a mafia affiliate?
No, not in any way on earth.
Okay.
No, I couldn't even, at that point in my life, I couldn't even name the 5 families. I mean, I knew nothing about any of this stuff.
Right.
But I did get a visit, and I was told, listen, here's the deal. This is a neighborhood that we control. The place that you have rented is a place that we've had clubs in for the last 20 years. And the guy who owns the pizza place on the corner, he's a captain of a second family. And so you got a problem. If you think you're walking in here and opening up a big club, especially the kind of club you're talking about, and going to make all this money and you're not going to take care of it, you have a problem. Either you won't open or you won't stay open or you won't, you got to really think this through. So I'm like starting to sweat through my shirt now. This conversation is scaring the crap out of me. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, this has never happened before. Usually in the past, I would reach out for, what do I do? I'm having a problem with this group and blah, blah, blah. And someone would say, well, I know this guy, and somebody would work it out for me. I had never been head-on confronted with this. And so I was saying, I don't know what to say.
Is that what you said to the person?
Yeah, I said, I don't know what to say. He said, listen, you don't say anything. He said, you just think about it and realize that if you tell me you don't want me to get involved, I'm out. You'll come back later, but right now I'm out. That's all. Well, think about it, because I'm not asking for anything now. We can't make money unless you make money. So when you're ready, you tell me. I'll register you. Felt like I was back in college. I was going to get registered. That's the word he used. Yeah, I can register you. And we came to an agreement on certain items that they wanted to control or take pieces of, and we agreed. But I was very naive in these ways, because I didn't realize, you open the door, sometimes you can't get it closed again. But luckily for us, I don't think they ever realized how much money we were making. So
how much money were you making in your prime?
I would say that we could talk about $400,000 a week.
You were making $400,000 a week
in the prime of the club, yeah.
$400,000 a week.
Yeah, it was a nice business. What really started to turn the club insane was all the celebrities. You could not name a celebrity in that day that wasn't at Scores.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
DiCaprio was a regular with Mark Wahlberg. Madonna was one of our first regular women. Well, it started with Mark Wahlberg and Leonardo DiCaprio were filming Basketball Diaries in Brooklyn at the time. So after they stopped shooting each day, they'd come to Scores. And those two guys were like, they weren't the Leonardo DiCaprio and the Mark Wahlberg of the future, but they were who they were, and they became regulars. And I mean, you just can't name anyone who wasn't there. It was an amazing kind of experience. And the Yankees had one part of the bar, the Mets had another part of the bar, and Marc Messier always had his places in the champagne room, and everybody had territories. So and the NBA, huge number of NBA players came. What's his name? Dennis Rodman married a Scores girl for a while, for a minute and a half.
Yeah, for a minute.
But the story lasted for years.
I never saw a bar like this in my life. I never saw so many bottles of Louis XIII cognac in my life. I've seen one in an airport or one. I never saw so many bottles. How much? It must have gone through that like water.
Oh, it's unbelievable. They would pay us $1,000 for the bottle when it was empty. We had an empty bottle sale of Louis XIII cognac. It was just an amazing time. Listen, I had done very well as an attorney, but forget about it.
You were with who? Can I say Mario? Not Mario.
Well, the firm was formed, as Mario Cuomo wrote in his book, as the place that he was going to go to be the senior partner when he lost the primary to become governor to Mayor Ed Koch. But he won. He won the primary and he won the election against Lou Lerman, and he became the governor of the state of New York. And so Andrew came to work for us while he was still in law school as a clerk, as an intern, and then eventually when his dad went to Albany and he became a powerful political figure, he joined our firm as a partner and stayed there for many years. When we sealed the deal on that first night I was telling you about, I remember the mafia guy said to me, he said, listen, do whatever you want, and just take your chances, don't make the wrong decisions, and just take care of your sorry little ass. And as I walked out, I said, drenched in sweat and fearful and scared. I said, the only part of that conversation I liked was he called my ass little. I said, that's the only thing that was good about that night for me. And here I am, I'm agreeing to pay a huge amount of rent in those days. I think we were paying $20,000 a month. By the time Scores moved from that location, I understand, they were paying $220,000 a month. But didn't hurt because when you're making,
$400,000
a week, that's,
nothing.
That's the way of all flesh.
So then something happened with the FBI.
Well, in the midst of all this glory, yes, I had involved myself in a fraud with an insurance company in Orlando, Florida. The company was located in Orlando, but it was supervised by Delaware, the state of Delaware. I think I was arrogant. There was a problem with some clients who wanted to buy this insurance company, and I was riding so high at that time, and Scores wasn't open yet. Remember, I was just riding so high. I thought that I could do anything, and so when the problem arose, I agreed to take an illegal act to help them obtain the insurance company, which started the ball rolling for everything bad that happened in my life. And so it turned out that the guys that were my clients that I helped turned out to be a little bit insane, and they started doing some worse things than we had done, and the frauds there began to grow. People were committing frauds that I never even met. I was never in Orlando. I went there a few times in my life.
So you weren't aware what they were doing?
Not in detail. Not in detail. I was aware of some, but if you're talking about huge fraud, I knew a lot of it, but nowhere near what was going on. To the bitter end, I didn't know until basically the trial took place. A lot wasn't revealed to me. But be that as it may, under your American law, you're responsible. You're part of a fraud. Whatever is potentially foreseeable, you bought. So I understand all of that.
Now all of a sudden you have this Delaware insurance.
Yeah, we have this insurance problem.
And the FBI comes in.
Right. Well, I only wish I knew it was that easy. Okay, I'm sitting one day in my law firm, and one of the maintenance guys comes in and says to me, people were putzing around in your space over the weekend. And I go, really? I says, yeah, they seem to be going up in the ceiling. So now I got this, this cold sweat going on. Why are people going in my ceiling? Maybe it's my partner. Maybe we're doing some computer work in there. I'm praying that's what it is. Or maybe something worse. Maybe it's the mob guys who are trying to keep track of us to see if we're planning anything against them. Or maybe it's this insurance problem down in Florida. But we can't figure it out. Everybody has a reason. The mob guys came and told me it was the boxing thing. And the boxing people told me, no, it's the mob. Anyway, so we wake up one day and Scores is under attack by FBI agents. My law firm is under attack by FBI agents. My house is under attack by FBI agents. And this is going on, and it's like it's the day before Thanksgiving. And I'm dealing with all of this, not really knowing what the hell's going on. But now I know who's doing it. It's the FBI. So we waited, and then finally we heard from the U.S. Attorney's Office that came to us and said, listen, you may want to tell us you're not money laundering. We think you are. Okay. And we know you have this big problem in Florida. But and we also know from hundreds and hundreds of hours of wiretaps of the Gambinos that you are being extorted. So if you want to get out of the problem in Florida, if you want to save your life, if you want to not have a major problem, then you're going to help us and you're going to cooperate on this extortion issue, and then everything will go away.
This is Steven Sergio, who, according to the FBI, was an associate of the Gambino crime family. He was the first extortionist to push his way into Scores.
What was your job at the club?
I didn't do no accounting work. I didn't do any scheduling. I didn't do anything. But I was there to make sure everything went smoothly.
So I remember my first reaction was, are you mistaking me for someone with balls? I don't understand. What are you talking about? You want me to cooperate against the mob? They kill people. Why would you even suggest this? And so they say, well, that's the deal. You have one.
Was this Reedy?
No. This was the U.S. Attorney.
Okay.
Reddy and Karsh were eventually the assigned FBI agents.
You basically explained to Michael, you have no choice. There's no way out.
New York FBI agent Bill Reddy who knew all about Blutrich's problems in Florida, had him under surveillance for months before developing him as an informant against the mob.
He was nervous a lot. He always needed constant reassurance.
Would he call you a lot? All day long he'd be calling you.
Oh yeah, and it would start in the morning and it would continue throughout the day, right until my head hit the pillow at night.
They said, listen, you may need some convincing, so we're going to excuse ourselves from the room. And they excused themselves, and another FBI agent, who'd never identified himself, came in and he started a tape. And on the tape, there were two mob-sounding guys talking about killing my partner. And they actually have done a run-through of the murder. And they're talking about he lives in an apartment building where you come in, you come into park, and you can go straight and go right out on the side next street, or you can make a left turn and give the valet the parking. He says, so what we're going to do is we're going to follow him down. He's going to make the left. We're going to stay straight. We're going to jump out. We're going to kill him. We're going to jump back in the car. We're gone in 15 seconds. So everyone, they like the plan. It's a good plan. So they're discussing how after they kill my partner, I'll come running to them because I'm scared, because I figure somebody's trying to take over the club and I need more protection. And the guy's joking, the guy's such an idiot. We'll offer to take half the club because no one will touch it once it's half ours, and he'll give us half the club for nothing. So that was their plan. So we're listening to this and I'm going, wow, this is wild. They got everything right. My partner's house, the whole layout, they'd obviously been there. So the girls come back in, the FBI agent leaves, and my partner goes, we're cooperating. I said, what? Whoa. That's some negotiation you just conducted. What did we just get for our cooperation? And we're waiting outside, and I'm still going, I don't want to cooperate. I mean, I'm not a brave person. I mean, I played the accordion when I was a kid. I slept in a room with my Aunt Edith, and I had a goldfish for like 8 years that I loved. I had a cat that slept with me. I mean, I don't do things like this, One of our lawyers says they really, really, really want you guys to cooperate. They see this as the prosecution of the decade because of the people and the inroads and the people involved and the people who are going to flip because of what you do and will go up and up and up. They really want, but you have to wear a wire. Now I'm just sitting there going, what? Nobody said anything about wearing a wire in that room. It was cooperate. That means like testify, give information. Not in your case. You're going to have to wear a wire. And I can't. I said, I'm not doing this. I said, you guys are crazy. I said, just shoot me now. don't put me through the aggravation. They said to me, the response was, we can guarantee you, in a percentage, 99.9% that you'll never see the inside of a jail cell. And my life was in danger so many times during that year that I was undercover, because the mob guys were nervous that maybe they knew about the Florida case. Maybe I'd been flipped. Maybe I was cooperating. Maybe I was wearing a wire. There was one night where I was having dinner with one of the mob guys in a restaurant, and he takes me in the bathroom, and he says, I got to search you for a wire. I'm wearing a wire. He says, I got to search you for a wire. I said, come on, just let's go eat dinner. We won't even talk about any of that stuff today. He says, no, I got to search you for a wire. So now the wire consists of two microphones that are up here, which lead down to the wire, which is here. In my underwear, they sewed in a pocket, and the F-Bird, FBI recording device, is there, and he wants to search me. So I got two choices: run or play the game. So I say, okay, how do you do this? I never got searched by anybody before. He goes, well, go over there, take off your shirt. Let me see what's going on. So I go to the bathroom stall, and I take off the shirt, and I take off my tie, and I put it up there, and I open the shirt. And as I'm opening the shirt, I just take the microphones and pull them down into my underwear as I'm body turned. And then I take off the shirt, and I go over to him, and he says, okay, I see enough. You don't have any mics on you. You're all right. You're clean. Let's go. I said, no. I'm not ready. I want to do the rest because I don't want you doing this anymore. So I don't want you to leave any doubt. I said, so now I go back and I unbuckle my pants, and as I go there, I bring down the F-Bird and the wire and everything else and fold over. And I basically walk over to him and I sort of like do a little lap dance to him in the bathroom. I say, okay. I said, you want me to turn around or you're not into asses? I said, well, he says, just get dressed and get away from me. So that's what I did. I got dressed and I went away from me. So he, and then he went back to the table and I said, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. So I haven't been searched before. So he leaves me alone. I go over there and I actually go into the stall and I vomit my guts out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I said, I can't, first off, I'm an idiot. Why didn't I just leave it alone? Or, why did I go through the extra mile? But as it turned out, he never searched me again. He never came near me again. And it just, this is how desperate it all became. I was searched at least 5 or 6 times for wires. Each time, some amazing grace from the powers that be saved my life.
Say Michael the Archangel was sitting on your shoulder.
And you worry about your family, and you worry about what you're doing, and you worry about your sanity, and you can't tell anybody. That's the biggest problem. I can't sit with anybody except the FBI agents, who, if I express any bit of doubt, give me a speech about how I'm a patriot. I thought I was a football player. They called me patriot so many times. I thought I worked for New England. I mean, it just went on and on and on in my life, and slowly but surely, I was going crazy. And in the end, despite the fact that New York and Atlanta and the prosecutors in the district attorney's office in Manhattan all came to try to have me get the promises, the land that I was promised, to get the 99.1%. We wound up with a prosecutor who despised us, hated us, didn't want us to be cooperators, wanted us to go away for a very long time, and a judge who was inclined to listen to the prosecutor.
Arrogance. I think he thought that the cooperation against the mob was so significant and so powerful that it would essentially dispense him from any culpability or punishment in Florida.
Former prosecutor Judy Hunt says Blutrich could have fared as badly as his co-conspirator Shulam Weiss, who was sentenced to prison for a record 845 years. But former prosecutor Art Leach sees it differently.
You think he got a raw deal?
I don't think that the judge properly considered how important his cooperation was to the Department of Justice and how horrible his sentence was in terms of developing cooperators like Michael Blutrich in the future.
I mean, we had an array of people that showed up to our sentencing. That's amazing. Michael Chertoff, who was the second head of Homeland Security, the Attorney General of the United States.
John Ashcroft?
John Ashcroft. Everybody stood up for us in this courtroom. The U.S. Attorney, and I'm not talking about assistants, the U.S. Attorney for Georgia, the U.S. Attorney for New York, the victim, the state of Delaware, who had paid all the people their money back. See, one of the things that really hurts me is that I've been portrayed in newspapers and in other places as person responsible for, tens of thousands of old people losing their annuities in that insurance company. When the truth is that everyone was paid back every nickel by the state of Delaware and by NOGLA, the company, the national group that insures these things, and everyone got their money back, and they kept going to court to tell the judge, this is the man whose cooperation was crucial to our getting repaid all the money we paid everybody. And so whoever heard of your victim showing up to ask the judge to let you go? Victim showed up like 3 times in court to ask to let me go, and the judge imposed first a 25-year sentence, then lowered it to 16 years, and we wound up serving in excess of 13 years on a 99.9% promise that I would never see the inside of a jail cell.
The book is really fascinating. Once you start to read it, you don't stop reading it. I really loved it. I thank you very much for the time, and I wish you an incredible amount of success with the sales of it. I hope it becomes a movie. It deserves to be a movie. It's a great story. It's a complete story of one's life right to the very end. Thank you. Michael's book is available in hardcover, audiobook, and Kindle, wherever fine books are sold, including Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And Michael does the audio in his book, which is worth that in itself. On his audiobook, Michael has gotten over 200 5-star reviews. It's well worth it.